I got a request. I don't know, request is it's a good word, but I again put out something saying like, hey, give me ideas to do on the podcast. And David came through, our good buddy David Baylor, and he said, hey man, why don't you make a tier list? And I'm like, you know what? That's a fantastic idea. Him and I, and also Dan, we've been putting together tier lists over the past couple of days, which I don't know why, but it's just like a random thing that has happened. So I figured, hey, we just saw the All-Star event for the NBA, so why don't we make a tier list for NBA teams? And I do not know if I'm basing this off of right now or in total. It'll probably be a mix. And this isn't going to be like an objective list where I'm like, well, this team has the most wins, or like there's like he has this stat line or this stat line. Like it'll be a mix of that and also just like my opinion. So if you have a problem with it, like I just honestly do not give a fuck. So go away. But here's my list. We're going to make it together. So first up, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is a hard one for me because the Sixers, Allen Iverson, obviously, just a legend of the NBA. So they have that going for them. But I have a problem with them for just like I don't enjoy watching them that much, which they're playing pretty well right now. But I'm not really a big fan of Ben Simmons. Also not a big fan of Joel Embiid because he's a bit of a bitch. So it's a hard one for me. I, though, am going to have to put them in C tier, I'm going to say, because I just cannot stand watching them sometimes. And while Westbrook was still at the Thunder in those glory days, we kind of had somewhat of a rivalry with them. Well, more specifically, Westbrook and Embiid, like, hating each other because they both are, like, somewhat shitty humans. So, yeah, they'll go ahead and take a seat over in C tier. Next up, we have the Washington Wizards. And as someone who lives close by to the Washington Wizards, I'm going to do the world a favor and throw them into D tier because that is where they belong, and I do not want to hear anything else about it. They suck. They've sucked for years. They are just heartbreak city for everybody that likes them. I am honestly saddened by people that are fans of the Wizards because I know that they have to go through that every year. I apologize to all of you that have to suffer. I'm here if you need somebody to like cry about it too, although I will probably make fun of you for continuing to follow them. You know, when I first was looking into getting into the NBA, I was like, well, don't really know who to follow. And I obviously shopped around a little bit. I'm a Colts fan, so I was like Pacers, and I was like, I don't know. I don't necessarily love the idea of following the Pacers. Because I'm more of an Indiana basketball fan, like a IU fan, and I was like, I don't know, I want to follow the Pacers. And I looked at the Wizards, and I'm like, I definitely don't want to follow the Wizards. So landed on OKC. Basically, fuck the Wizards. Okay, moving on. The Atlanta Hawks, and they're a team that I really, really enjoy, actually, and I've enjoyed for quite a while, even though they're not a very good team per se. I've enjoyed watching them. Some of my favorite players in the NBA have come from the Hawks, so I'm talking about Trae Young, who's there now, and obviously he's fantastic. And then someone who's severely underrated, in my opinion, in Dennis Schroeder. I love that man, and obviously he played for the Thunder for a couple years, but I love how he plays. I loved him while he was at Atlanta. You know, he's a short little man compared to the other behemoths that are in the NBA. So got to give it up to the Hawks for that, at least. So I'm going to put them in B tier because I know they don't deserve anything higher, even though I really enjoy watching them. So whatever. Okay. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Here's another difficult one because they were obviously in the playoff picture for a while, right? But by them being in the playoff picture, what I really mean is LeBron was in the playoff picture. And, not a lot of great stuff has come out of Cleveland. And I just don't really enjoy watching Cleveland, especially now. Obviously, you have the most iconic duo of all time in Sexland over the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. So there's that, I guess. I'm going to put them in C tier for now because of the titles that they have, but they could possibly drop lower. Unsure, though. So next up, we've got the Detroit Pistons. And I'm just going to go straight ahead and throw them into D tier. I do not like them. Do not enjoy watching them. Sometimes I forget that they're in the NBA. So, yeah, that speaks a lot to what I think about them. I can't name a single person on their roster right now, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, they can just go away, in my opinion. Next up, Indiana Pacers. Okay. So, like I said before, I'm a Colts fan. I like Indiana for the most part, at least Indiana sports. I'll say that. Indiana itself, maybe not the greatest state, and I will admit that firsthand. But Indiana sports, sure. So the Pacers, they are always up there in the playoffs, which they never really do anything insane in the playoffs, which is kind of it's just a basically dead middle of the road kind of team. So we're gonna put them up with the Hawks in B tier for now. Next up, got the Milwaukee Bucks, and just straight ahead off into S tier for them. I love watching them play. Giannis Antetokounmpo is like one of the coolest people on this planet. We do not deserve him. He is so amazing. Obviously, he won the the All-Star MVP, which I believe is the Kobe Bryant Award now, which is awesome. He won that tonight. He won MVP last year, which was great. He definitely deserved that. The Greek freak himself, he is an insane man. Obviously, they've been up there for quite a while in the East and kind of rolling over there. But just solid team, and shout out my boy Nick. Just loving that team. So yeah, put them up in S tier for our first one over there. Next up, got the Toronto Raptors. And they're another one that is always in the conversation as well. Obviously, they won a recent title with Kawhi Leonard there. And it's one that could be argued to put in either or into B tier, but I'm going to put them into A just based off their recent success and legends of the game and Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter coming from there. And that's another team that I just always enjoy watching. So they're going to go into A for me. Next up, we got the Mavericks. And they're a team I don't watch a ton. Luka Doncic, obviously people think he's the second coming of Christ for some reason. For some reason. It's a pretty good reason why. He's very good. And you obviously have Porzingis there, which is a somewhat new duo. And I don't love Porzingis, to be honest, but, I digress. But they're all right. I see them pop up every once in a while on my feed, and I'm like, yeah, they're a pretty decent team, I guess. But can't really give them insane props. They're either a B tier or an A tier. Like either a low A or a B. I'll throw them in A tier. Bottom of A tier probably. And then just keep them in there for a little while. Nuzzled up. Okay, next up, got the Denver Nuggets. And they're in the Thunder's division. So have some kind of prejudice against them there. And I don't know, the Nuggets are weird. It's another team that I don't super enjoy watching. You have Jokic there, and obviously he's great. He's a really good passer, and I think that's the best thing that he provides, entertainment wise, for the Nuggets. They're always up there as well in the playoff picture, and they've been doing their thing for the last couple years. So I'm going to put them above the Raptors in A tier for right now. Next up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. This is another team that I super enjoy watching, even though, like the Hawks, are not really good, but they're a young team, got a lot of promise, and Ja Morant, who is a hero, and you have guys like Brandon Clark over there, just like really young talent, and they look like they're going to be pretty good. Obviously, they have like some of the most fire jerseys in the NBA, so there's that as well. But I'm going to put them, I'm going to say above the Hawks in B tier, because Ja Morant is a amazing player to watch. He's very electric. I like him a lot. Minnesota Timberwolves, we don't even have to talk about that. They are in D tier at the bottom. They suck and nobody likes them. Moving on, San Antonio Spurs. Okay, so this is an interesting one because, they have been good for a very long time. Obviously not insane lately. They're fine, but not necessarily the most exciting team to watch. But have to put a little bit of respect on their name. So I'm going to put them, let's say, at the top of B tier. And I think that's pretty fair. Give them the respect they deserve, but also they're pretty whatever at the same time. Like, yeah, I don't know. They're just very average. So just right at B tier for them. Utah Jazz. This is a personal hate one for me, so I'm just gonna throw them into D tier at the bottom, and that is fully just based on my personal bias against them and how they always beat the Thunder in the playoffs. So yeah. So I will say though, Donovan Mitchell, probably my favorite player in the NBA right now. I'm not gonna lie. He's been crushing it on my team on 2K, so gotta give him that, I guess. But yeah, I can't put them any higher. It's just a rivalry thing at the end of the day. So sucks for them, I guess. Clippers piss me off, and therefore I'm putting them into C tier. I'll put them at the top of C tier because they are good, and I acknowledge that. But also, like, it was disappointing watching them last year because they had a lot of talent. They were a very scrappy team. And they had Paul George and Kawhi. And I feel like I never hear about them somehow. And it's very strange because they have such a good team, yet they're just never really talked about. And, before now, they were always just kind of a team that you just kind of passed through. Chris Paul came from there, and he's one of my favorite players, or favorite point guards, I should say. But, he has moved on from them, as I think every other NBA fan should move on from the Clippers, because yikes for them. Phoenix Suns, okay. Hot team right now. Very hot team. And for that reason, I'm going to put them in S tier, and I hear you for those yelling into their phone right now for how that might be stupid. And they're below the Bucks, so one, chill out. But two, they hold a special place in my heart, and I have some friends that enjoy the Suns and have followed them for a little while, and it's nice to see them finally come out on top. And CP3 is over there, who we just previously mentioned, and obviously Devin Booker, who is the most underrated player in the NBA at this point in time. So have to give him a little bit of props. I would feel guilty otherwise. And obviously just the kings of the bubble. So take that as you will. Portland Trail Blazers. Here's another one that I have a little bit of beef with, obviously, with Lillard, waving us goodbye in the playoffs. It's a sad day every time I have to think about that one. I'm gonna give myself and all other Thunder fans a moment of silence for that. Just 1 second. Thank you. Okay, so with Portland, I really love that team, and Damian Lillard is the best point guard in the league at this point, and I will hear no other slander on his name because he is absolutely incredible. But, and there's a big but here, a massive but, a huge but. They have not been able to get it done in the playoffs, so I'm going to put them below the Nuggets in A tier, below the Nuggets, above the Raptors. They're going to take a seat up in A tier, though. Next up, Sacramento Kings. So you know how I said the Jazz were at the bottom of D tier? I lied. The Kings are just so unbelievably terrible. It is so sad. And it's like the Pistons, where half the time I forget they exist, and I'll just be loading up 2K and I'll be scrolling through teams and I'm like, oh right, the Kings. They got De'Aaron Fox, I guess. I think that's enough said on them. Next up, the New York Knicks. I'm going to put the Knicks into C tier. Okay? And I'm going to put them above the Cavs because they're getting a little hot right now, in a way. And obviously they have a deep history there of basketball excellence, I guess. And they're kind of like the Browns in a way, where they just are so bad, but you want them to succeed because it's just very funny. So I'm going to put them there, and I'm going to feel pretty okay about that one. Next up, we got the Pelicans. So Pelicans are fine. I'm going to throw them into bottom of B tier because they are just that. They are fine. They are another whatever team. They got Zion, which I think he's overrated. And get over it. I said it. He's had a lot of expectations to live up to. People calling him the next LeBron and shit, and just has not really proved that yet. And the Pelicans are not really making any huge waves or anything like that. So he'll be there. Him, as New Orleans fans, Zion, and what's his face? Oh my God, I totally forgot which Ball brother it was. Lonzo. Wow, that was like the biggest brain fart of my life. Yeah, they can all just go away. Next up, Charlotte Hornets. I have always enjoyed the Hornets, and it's another one like the Hawks and the Grizzlies where I enjoy watching them personally. I think LaMelo Ball is great. I think he's going to do great things in the NBA. I think he's entertaining to watch. He's kind of gives me Chris Paul vibes in a way. He can definitely improve as a scorer, which is weird because that was kind of his whole thing for a while. But he's proven he can get it done with assists and steals as well. But he's got to develop more of a scoring talent for them to bust out. But they're a really fun team to watch. And Graham over there, he's been over at ESPN, in some highlights recently. And I think they're a cool up-and-coming team. And for that reason, I'm going to put them at the top of B tier over the Spurs and get mad. Next up, Houston Rockets. And this is another one where I just deeply do not respect the Rockets. But I'm going to do it my civic duty and put them at the top of C tier because I'll get over it, but just by a little bit. Here's my problem with the Rockets. 1, they don't know how to play defense. Never have, never will. And well, they were kind of a okay. So they took Westbrook away from us, which is another thing. There's a no. And I don't know. It's just like they felt just kind of weird in the West for a while, like up into the conversation, because they were always there, just could never get it done, could never put together a good enough string of games to get themselves moving up in the playoffs. And, it's unfortunate because they've had some really good teams put together out there, but they made a pretty stupid trade, I would say, in getting John Wall. And it's just kind of proving that, hey, they don't really know what they're doing right now, and they're kind of scrambling. So I'll put them there, and we'll all be fine with that. Next up, Miami Heat. And here is one that I really enjoy, and they have a bit of a history of playing well. Obviously, they had a couple chips when LeBron and D Wade were there. D Wade, obviously a legend at the Miami Heat, and they've got a super fun team right now. And Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, and some more guys that are over there that are just really crushing right now. And I was rooting for them heavy in the playoffs last year. Me and Dan were really rooting them on. They just couldn't do it. And they've got jerseys this year that look like Trix yogurt, so that's always fun. And yeah, I just enjoy watching them a lot. I'm gonna put them at the top of A tier. Yeah, very cool. Next up, Chicago Bulls. I think even though they kind of suck, I think we all have to put them at the top of S tier, and that's just kind of where they belong. You can hate the Bulls as much as you want. You can say that they're bad now as much as you want, but the best basketball player of all time played there. They have crushed in the past, and nobody can ever take that away from them. So therefore, they are going there for right now. Next up, we got the Nets, and the Nets are going. I'm gonna put them below the Bucks, but in S tier, because they just picked up Blake Griffin, and they are probably going to win a championship. So there's that. And they're another team that I think is kind of fun to. They were fun to root for before they got Kyrie and Durant and DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin and like all those other people. They were kind of one of those teams, such as like the Hornets and the Grizzlies and the Hawks, for me anyway, that I enjoy. Just like, hey, hope they do good. For no apparent reason, but just not a very hateable team. Obviously now they've got some hateable players there, which is whatever, but they're probably going to win a championship again. So they're going up in S tier just for personal relevance at this moment. I think it is unfair for me to rate the Thunder. They're the next on our list. So I'm going to take an objective look at it. Okay. And as best as possible, I'm just going to put them in the middle of B tier, just so that I'm not biased, but I'm not putting them lower than that. But they're not great right now, but they're one of the most electric teams in the NBA to watch, and they're always in the conversation, even with all their young guys, and they're still fun to watch now. And not like I have, because they haven't been on TV, but in highlights, it's fun to watch, so fight me. And Westbrook is one of the best point guards to ever play. Anyway, Warriors. This is another hard one. Obviously, they've had an incredible super team there, and then a couple years later, they have just like a cast of nobodies over there. So it's another weird one. I think I need to put them into S tier though. Oh my God, can I? Can I even do that? No, I don't think I can. I don't think I can force myself to do that, because they're just so not good right now. Even though they have Steph Curry, and I'm torn on this one. Okay, fine, I'll do it. I'll put them in S tier. I'll put them right behind the Nets, and I think that's totally fine. And we need to give them respect they deserve. They've had some great players come out of there, but obviously we all hate them at the same time. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. Okay. Next one, we got the Celtics. The Celtics are always good. Always have been, always will be. I enjoy watching them. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are some amazing players, and they played at the All-Star game today. And they're just a fun team to watch, and always a tough one to go against. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them below the Bulls on the tier list, but they're going in S tier. And then we got two more. So coming up on the Orlando Magic. And, they're not great, realistically. But with that said, they've been playing a little bit better recently. I don't know if I can't put them any higher than C tier, but I don't know if I can put them into C tier, to be honest, because it's not a pretty sight over there. I'm going to put them at the top of D tier. I feel okay with that decision for the most part. So, yeah, that's fine. That is totally fine. And last up, obviously, Los Angeles Lakers, top of S tier. They're the greatest basketball team probably of all time. Got insane championships. Don't even need to mention the players that have been there, that are there. Obviously, I will say, though, Kobe Bryant, one of the most legendary basketball players of all time. You cannot tell me that whenever you threw a piece of paper into the trash, you did not say Kobe, because you did, and you'd be lying to yourself if you said that you didn't. So there's that. But yeah, they got to go up there. They just have to, and they just edged out the Bulls for me. So yeah, that's my entire tier list. I'll probably have something going on up here, showing that off for all of you people that are watching on YouTube, but that is my whole tier list. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that one, not gonna lie. I think that's decent. That is the best that I could do.